The cage was cold. The floor was made of steel, and the little alien girl sat in one corner, hugging her knees. Her skin was soft and pale blue, her hair silver and thin. She looked no older than 8 human years. Her big purple eyes were full of fear. Chains wrapped around her ankles and wrists. Her name? She had forgotten it long ago. Loud voices echoed outside the cage. The market was crowded. Aliens from many worlds walked by, some tall with horns, others fat and slimy, many wearing dark robes. All came to buy, all came to own. A tall merchant opened the cage. "Come out, girl," he growled. His sharp claws clicked against the metal. The little girl didn't move. One of the guards shocked her collar. She screamed and crawled forward, shaking. They pulled her up to the auction stage. She stood under the bright lights, shivering. The crowd looked at her like an object, like a toy. Some laughed, others whispered in strange languages. A screen behind her showed numbers, race info, and her weight. Healthy, quiet, obedient, it read. The merchant shouted, "A rare species, young, trained, and untouched. Starting bid, 500 credits. Hands went up. A one-eyed alien barked 600. A woman with green skin yelled 800. A tall gray alien smirked. 1,000. The girl's eyes darted across the crowd, her heart beating fast. She wanted to run, but where? She had no family, no home, no voice. Then, he stepped forward. A man, a human. He wore a long coat, dusty boots, and gloves. His face was half covered with a scarf, but his eyes were sharp. Cold. Watching. He said nothing. "Do you bid, stranger?" the merchant asked. The human slowly raised his hand. 2,000. Gasps rippled through the crowd. 1,000? The merchant laughed. "You must be rich or foolish." The one-eyed alien growled. "That's a trick. Humans don't buy." The merchant looked nervous now. "What's your ID code, human?" The man pulled out a black card. The scanner beeped, approved. Everyone stared. The bidding stopped. No one wanted to fight him. He had won. The merchant motioned the girl forward. "She's yours. Take her and go." But the human didn't move. He walked slowly to the stage. His boots hit the metal steps with purpose. When he reached the girl, he knelt down. She flinched. He didn't touch her. He just looked at her. Then, quietly, he took a small tool from his coat and snapped her wrist chains, one by one, then her ankle ones. They fell with a clink. She stared at him, confused. No one ever removed the chains. "You're free," he whispered. She blinked. "Free?" The merchant stepped forward. "Hey, what are you doing? She's yours now. Take her." The human stood and faced him. "She's not mine," he said. He turned back to the girl. "You want to leave?" he asked gently. The girl looked down, then up again. Her lips trembled. She nodded. "Then come with me," he said. And without another word, he took her hand. The merchant shouted, "No refunds. If she runs, it's your loss." The human ignored him. The crowd moved aside as he walked through it, silent, stunned. The girl held his hand tight, her tiny feet stumbling to keep up. She didn't know his name. She didn't know where they were going. But for the first time in her life, she felt safe. The little alien girl walked beside the human, her small hand still inside his warm glove. Her legs were weak, her feet hurt, but she did not let go. She kept looking up at him, wondering who he was and why he had helped her. They moved through the dirty lanes behind the auction market. The walls were covered in rust. Smoke filled the air. Robots buzzed overhead. Other slaves were still being sold behind them. Screams echoed, chains rattled. She stopped for a moment, out of breath. The human knelt and looked at her. "You okay?" he asked, voice soft. She didn't speak. She just nodded, even though she was tired and hungry. He opened his coat and pulled out a protein bar. He handed it to her. She stared at it, unsure. Slowly, she took it with shaking fingers. She took a bite, then another. Tears filled her eyes. She hadn't tasted food in days. The human stood and watched her. Then, footsteps echoed nearby. 4 armored guards appeared from the shadows, blocking their path. "Stop right there," one shouted. "She's stolen property." The girl gasped and hid behind the human's leg. "She was paid for," the human replied calmly. "Not fully registered," the guard barked. "New law. Every sale must go through central approval. You skipped it. Hand her over or face arrest." People around them began to watch. Some laughed. Others waited to see what the human would do. The little girl trembled. She had just found hope. Would it be taken again? The human sighed and reached into his coat. The guards raised their weapons, but instead of pulling out a weapon, he pulled out a black card. "Access level Alpha," he said. "Clearance Earth Union operative." The lead guard scanned the card. The screen blinked red, then turned green. "You're a Union soldier?" the guard asked, suddenly nervous. "Not just a soldier," the human replied. "Field agent, special rights." The guards backed off. "Didn't know." "Sorry, sir." The human looked down at the girl. "Let's go." They walked past the guards in silence. No one dared to stop them now. Far away inside, a tall building, a cloaked alien watched a screen. He had watched the entire auction. He saw the human. He saw the girl. "She's not supposed to be alive," he hissed. A second figure stepped from the shadows. "Should we recover her?" The cloaked one nodded. The human interfered. "Find out who he is, and bring the girl back." That night, the girl and the human sat beside a small campfire on the edge of the old ruins outside the city. The stars above were cold and bright. The wind whispered through the broken stone walls. She looked at him. Her voice was soft, dry, almost gone. "Why, did you buy me?" The human looked at her. "I didn't buy you," he said. "I bought your freedom. But I don't understand. I've seen too many like you," he said. "Sold, hurt, used. I couldn't watch it happen again." She looked down at the fire, eyes blinking. Then she asked something she had never dared before. "Can I stay with you?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Only if you choose to." She smiled, small and quiet, but real, but far beyond, inside a dark ship preparing to land. Voice echoed through a comm device. "Target located. Retrieval team inbound." Someone was coming, and they weren't coming to ask. The night was quiet. Too quiet. The little alien girl lay beside the fire, wrapped in a thin blanket the human had given her. The stars blinked overhead. Her eyes stayed wide open, staring at the sky. She had never seen stars like these before. So free, so far, so peaceful. But inside her chest, fear still lived. Her wrists hurt from where the chains had been. She touched them gently. Red marks remained, deep and sore. Even without the metal, she still felt trapped. The human sat across from her, sharpening a blade with slow, calm hands. He hadn't asked her questions, he hadn't forced her to speak, but somehow, she wanted to. "My name," she whispered. The man looked up. She sat up a little. "I remember. My name. It's Sari." He gave a small smile. "That's a good name." She smiled too, but just for a second. Suddenly, a sharp sound in the distance. A drone. The human stood immediately. His eyes scanned the dark trees. He reached for his blaster and grabbed Sari's hand. "Run," he said. They moved fast through the ruins. Old stones, cracked pillars, vines wrapped around broken machines. Sari followed close behind. Heart pounding. She didn't ask where they were going, she didn't care, she just didn't want to go back. Laser fire shot through the air. They ducked. Guards in black armor appeared, firing, shouting, chasing. "This is Union territory. You're interfering with a classified operation," the human shouted back. But the attackers didn't care. They were slavers, Illegal. Paid in silence. The human threw a smoke bomb. Fog exploded across the ruins. Sari coughed, blinded. Something grabbed her wrist. She screamed. A masked alien pulled her from the smoke. He hissed, dragging her backwards. Then, crack! A sharp blow knocked the alien away. The human appeared, face cold with rage. He picked her up and ran. They hid inside a collapsed chamber, stone walls and broken glass everywhere. The human pushed a stone slab in front of the doorway. They caught their breath in silence. Sari shook. She looked down at her wrist. The slaver had snapped a shock collar around it again. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "They'll always find me." The human looked at her. He pulled out a small tool, a laser cutter. He knelt down. "No more chains," he said. He carefully cut the collar. It fell to the floor. Then he took her hand. With a tiny pen, he wrote something on her inner wrist. She looked at it. It was a symbol, a human word. "Free?" He nodded. "That's what you are now." She stared at the word, then at him. Her voice cracked. "Even if they come again?" He met her eyes. "They'll have to go through me." Outside, the slavers circled the ruins. But inside, Sari wasn't a slave anymore. Her chains were broken. Not just the metal ones, but the ones inside. Her heart, too, and for the first time in her life, she believed she could fight back. The night didn't feel safe anymore. Smoke still hung in the air. The sound of boots, drones, and radio signals echoed through the ruins. Sari clutched the human's coat tightly as they crouched behind a broken statue. Her tiny heart beat like a drum. Her eyes kept searching the shadows. "They're everywhere," she whispered. The human nodded, calm but alert. "That's how you know we're doing something right." He tapped his wrist console. A small 3D map blinked to life. Red dots marked the enemy. One circle flashed green, an old underground tunnel, sealed and forgotten by most. "Can you run?" he asked. Sari nodded, though her legs still trembled. He looked her in the eye. "Then stay close. We leave now." They moved like ghosts, quiet, fast, slipping through cracks, ducking behind walls. The human guided her with quick hand signals. He never shouted, never panicked. They reached the tunnel entrance, a rusted hatch buried under stone vines. He pried it open with effort. The metal screamed. A light flickered below. "Go first," he said. Sari slid in, landing on her hands and knees. Cold air met her face. The tunnel smelled old and wet. The human followed, sealing the hatch above them. Now it was just darkness, and the sound of footsteps. Behind them, they weren't alone. Lights flared behind them. Slavers had found the tunnel. "They're here," Sari gasped. The human grabbed her hand. "Run!" They ran fast, water splashed beneath their feet, the walls shaking with gunfire. The human turned and fired shots to cover their escape. A blast hit close. Sari fell. She cried out, ankle twisted. "I can't." Without a word, the human scooped her into his arms and kept running. She wrapped her arms around his neck, whispering, "Why are you helping me?" His voice was steady. "Because I was once left behind too." They reached the end of the tunnel. A steel door, locked. The human set Sari down, pulled out a device and began hacking it. Sari looked behind them. Red lights grew closer, closer. She picked up a rock. Her hands shook, but she held it like a weapon. "I'll fight too," she whispered. The human glanced at her and smiled. "That's the spirit." Click. The door opened. They burst out into the open and found themselves on a landing pad, high above the cliffs. Wind roared. Below, the sea crashed against sharp rocks. A single ship sat at the edge, the human ship. He pointed. "Run to it." They ran, shots fired behind them. The slavers were right behind. The human turned and fought, shielding Sari as she climbed the ramp. He took a hit, shoulder burning, but kept moving. Inside the ship, he slammed the door shut. Alarms blared. The engines roared to life. They blasted off, fire trailing behind as they left the slavers behind in dust and sky. Sari stared out the window, eyes wide. The stars came closer. The planet became smaller. She turned to the human who sat, bleeding but smiling. "I've never been off-world," she whispered. He looked at her. "You're not just off-world now," he said. "You're free." She smiled. Then, for the first time since she could remember, she laughed. The stars were quiet. Sari sat beside the ship's window, her small hands pressed to the glass. Space stretched wide outside, black and endless, sprinkled with white light. It was beautiful and terrifying. She had never known anything so big. Behind her, the human sat in the cockpit. He was fixing his wounded arm, wrapping it with a clean bandage. Blood had soaked through his shirt, but he didn't complain. He just worked, calm and focused. She turned toward him. "Does it hurt?" He looked up and gave a small smile. "Not as much as seeing kids in chains." Sari lowered her head. "There." Was silence, then her voice, soft and quiet, said, "They took me when I was 4. The human paused. "My mother tried to hide me," Sari continued. "But they found us." She fought back. "So they burned her alive." The ship's hum filled the space between them. "They told me I was lucky to be sold," she said. "Better than being tossed to the monsters outside." She hugged her knees. "So I stopped crying. I stopped speaking. I stopped remembering." The human stood and walked over to her. He sat down on the floor beside her. "I used to be in chains too," he said. Her eyes widened. "Earth wasn't always free," he told her. "I was raised in a camp. My father tried to escape. He didn't make it." Sari didn't speak, but her hand reached out and touched his. They sat like that for a long time. Two survivors from two worlds connected by pain. Later that night, the ship floated in deep space. No stars nearby, no ships, just silence. The human handed Sari a clean blanket and a warm drink. "You don't belong to anyone now," he said. "No cage, no number, no collar." She looked at him. "What do I do then?" "Live," he said simply. "Choose your path, speak your name, stand tall." She blinked. "But I'm small." He chuckled. "Small doesn't mean weak." Suddenly the console beeped. The human stood and checked the screen. "Trouble?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "We're being tracked." Her heart sank. "The slavers?" He nodded. "They won't stop easily. You're not just a runaway, Sari. You're proof that they can be beaten. That scares them." Sari clenched her fists. "Then let them be scared," she whispered. The human turned, surprised. She stood now, eyes glowing softly. "No more cages," she said. He smiled. "Now that's the voice of someone who's ready to fight." But far away, on a dark ship, a red hologram flickered. Sari's face glowed on the screen. A voice said, "Target confirmed. Preparing strike team." And a deep growl replied, "Bring her back, or destroy everything around her." The sky over. Drellin Prime was red. Ash floated through the air like black snow. Fires still burned where slave auctions once stood. The old market square was now quiet, but not empty. A ship landed, its ramp lowered. Out stepped a human, and beside him, a small blue-skinned alien girl, no longer trembling. Sari stood tall. Her chains were gone. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice, silent for years, now held power. "Are you sure about this?" the human asked. She nodded. "They took everything from me. I want to see the place where I lost it." They walked through ruins of rusted cages and burned banners. Bones were scattered in the corners. The merchant booths were empty, their owners long fled. But something was wrong. Too quiet. The human scanned the area. "Tripwires," he muttered. "They knew we'd return." Suddenly, movement. From every direction, armed slavers appeared, guns raised, helmets shining in the orange light. A deep voice echoed across the square. "Well, well, the little slave returns," and she brought her pet human. From the shadows stepped the overseer, a giant alien with 4 arms and a whip made of plasma. His eyes burned with rage. "You embarrassed us," he snarled. "You cost us profit. You cost us power. Sari stepped forward. You cost me my childhood. The overseer laughed. You were born to serve. Not anymore, she said. Her voice didn't shake this time. The human placed a hand on her shoulder. Then, he stepped forward. You've hurt too many. It ends tonight. The battle was fierce. Lasers cut through air. Explosions shook the ground. The human fought with skill and fury, moving like fire. Every blow, every shot meant something. Sari hit it first, but only for a moment. Then she picked up a dropped blaster. Her hands shook, but her aim was true. She fired, and when the overseer turned to crush the human, Sari shot first. The plasma. Bolt hit his arm. The second shot hit his chest. He roared, stumbled, and fell. Silence. The other slavers fled. The fires slowly died. The market was empty again. But this time, not with fear, with freedom. The human walked to Sari and knelt. You okay? She looked at the smoking weapon in her hand, then at him. I'm not scared anymore, she said. You shouldn't be, he smiled. You're a fighter now. No, she said softly, looking at the rising sun beyond the smoke. I'm free. From orbit, a camera drone recorded it all, streamed live across black markets. Other slaves saw it, other slavers feared it, and somewhere, on another world, a child in chains whispered, She did it. So can I. 2 weeks later, the human ship floated in quiet space above a peaceful blue planet. No alarms, no slavers, no fear. Inside the ship, Sari sat on the floor, drawing with a digital pen. Her lines were shaky, but her smile was calm. She had never held a pen before, never drawn stars or ships or her own face. Now she drew herself standing beside someone taller, a human. His hand was on her shoulder. The human stepped into the room with 2 steaming cups. I made soup. He said. Sari took one with both hands. Thank you. He sat down beside her. You've been quiet, he said gently. I'm thinking, she replied. About what? She looked up at him. I want a new name. He blinked. A new name? Yes. The old one. It belonged to the girl in chains. She touched the place on her wrist where he'd written free. He nodded slowly. So, what name do you want? She thought for a long time. Then she whispered, Nova. He smiled. Nova. A star that burns bright after darkness. Good choice. Later that day, the human brought her a small bag. There's something inside, he said. Nova opened it. A bracelet. Hand-carved. Simple. On it, her new name. Nova. Daughter of fire. She held it like treasure. I've never been anyone's daughter. You've always belonged to yourself, he said. But if you ever want to call me something. She looked up. Dad? She asked, unsure. He froze. Then nodded. Only if you mean it. She hugged him tightly. I do. Months passed. The ship visited new planets, safe ones. Nova learned how to read, how to cook, how to laugh. She learned to sleep without fear, and she learned how to fight. Not with hate, but with heart. She was no longer a slave, no longer a number. She was Nova, free, fierce, loved. Somewhere across the galaxy, whispers spread. A little girl burned a market to the ground. A human took her hand and changed everything. They say she's coming for the others. Nova stood by the cockpit window, stars reflecting in her eyes. What's next? She asked. The human pilot smiled beside her. Wherever you want to go. And together they flew forward, into the stars, into freedom, into the life no one said she could ever have.